Well, hello everyone. Welcome to IATA Leads voter registration training, how we
Mm.
specifically teach you guys how to register others to vote for the 2026 midterms. This is going to be a presentation featuring our lovely folks over at the Minnesota Secretary of State's office. Michael Wall is here with us today. We can kind of get started with the presentation. We're really grateful that you all are joining us here today. The midterms is a big undertaking, and it takes all of us to ensure that we all get out to vote this upcoming midterms. So we can start with some brief introductions with us as IATA Leads, who we are, and we'll get into the team members. And then we'll hand things over to Michael, who is going to be giving you all the skills straight from the horse's mouth, Minnesota Secretary of State's office, how you can get others registered to vote as well as yourselves. So to do a little bit of introduction on what IATA Leads is, we are a 501c3 nonpartisan nonprofit empowering and supporting Black and African diasporic community, specifically women, in personal growth and civic leadership since 2015. So we've been here for a while. Last year was, of course, our 1 decade, and we're growing ever since then. So I just wanted to introduce, in case you were unfamiliar with some of our core programming and the training the community needs that we aim to fill. So for our core programming, we do a lot of fellowships, and the main thing that we started with was our campaign school. Some of you might know some of our elected officials who have actually run through that campaign school, such as Zainab Mohammed, Ilhan Omar, Nadia Mohammed, are some of notable alumni of that program. We also have our first annual leadership fellowship that works to support young women in building those leadership skills in whichever path they aim to take. Of course, the Future Leaders in Politics is a little bit more geared to future leaders in politics. We also do a lot of work with our Engaged Parent program, just teaching community members who have families and children how they can get more engaged in their children's lives, or the school systems, things like that. And then, of course, we do a lot of get out the vote work when it comes to our immediate community within the Minneapolis and Twin Cities area. So these are one of the things and one of the many programs that we have coming up this summer and into the fall, is that get out the work and get out the vote work that we do. And then on top of that, we have our trainings and community needs that we aim to fill. So like many of you guys might know the work that we have done back in January in the winter with Operation Metro Surge. We were able to put together a lot of Know Your Rights trainings, specifically when it came to immigrant rights. But now we're transitioning as well into voter rights, and we've done some of that work in the past. We also have done some community leaders and officials crisis response trainings. We also do transformation and mobilization value-based workshops that help with interpersonal and interpersonal work and collaboration, as well as student leadership and civic engagement work that we partner with certain universities in building up those leadership qualities and leadership skills and hands-on work with university students. So that's some of the quick introduction to the work that we do. Again, these offerings are for you as community members. If you ever need a training or ever need resources or on any of the things listed below, or if something's not listed, you can always reach out to us and we can figure out how to meet your needs. So we can move on to the next slide and we can introduce ourselves a little bit. So I'll just let Christina start. We can go in the order of who's on the slide.
All right. Hi, my name is Christina, and I'm the communications manager for IATA Leads. So a lot of the work I do is I be sending out very much many emails to very many people. I also create a lot of the content that you'll see on our social media pages and a lot of the flyers for our events. So if you haven't already followed IATA Leads, you can follow IATA Leads. On to you, Shayna.
Hello, I'm Shayna. I am the digital strategist at IATA Leads. I am also really into like the content creation, but I'm more video making. So if you see a lot of videos, those are usually scripted, produced, and edited by me. I just want to tell you guys that we have more events coming up after this, so stay tuned for more. And they're also published on our IATA Leads page. So highly, highly, highly encourage you to follow us.
Mm.
Great. And then, hi, you all. I've been the one speaking. My name's Ava. I'm the Civic Engagement Advocacy Manager with IATA Lead. So I'm going to be the one doing a lot of that get out the vote work, trying to connect with you all in the community to figure out what your needs might be, where your concerns might lie when it comes to voting, and always try to get you that answer that you might need. Make you feel a little bit more assured and empowered when it comes to voting. Um, so yeah, that's us on the IATA side. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Michael Wall, our partner here today, who's going to be teaching you a little bit more in depth on how to register others to vote. Which is an extremely, again, I appreciate so much that you guys are all here today to support this Get Out the Vote work. Michael Wall has been doing amazing work as the Youth Voter Outreach Specialist over at the Office of Minnesota Secretary of State. And yeah, I'll just pass it off to him and he can tell you a little bit more about why we're here today.
Thank you, Ava. And I think I'll share in a second, but as Ava said, my name is Michael Wall. I work for the Secretary of State's office doing voter outreach, and it's actually my second time. I worked here in voter outreach from 2016 to 2021, and then I was doing outreach work with the YMCA Center for Youth Voice, and the position that I'm in now was established in January of 24. It was actually established in 23 by the legislature, and then I came on when they did the hiring in January of 24. So I've been back here ever since. Um, I'm going to share, but because we are a small enough crowd, you should feel free, please, to unmute and stop me and ask a question. We'll have time for Q&A and discussion at the end, but we don't want to travel through something that doesn't click, doesn't make sense. So please feel free and encouraged to do that. All right, slideshow, that should be up. Great. I have, as is my habit, way too many slides. So I'll be going through some of them rather quickly, and some I'm going to stop and spend some time. Ava is going to have a copy of all these slides so you can get it, and you can also contact me. My contact information is at the end, and this is being recorded. So lots of ways to continue the conversation and have this information. So in talking with others, there really is the who, when, and how of elections, and we'll learn there's one more, but we'll talk about that in a bit. So, who can vote? One of the tough things is talking with somebody and encouraging and, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were fill in the blank and you're not able to vote. You're not yet eligible to vote. So it's good to know who can vote in Minnesota. The easy, short answer is anybody who's registered to vote. But who can register? And here is your list of key requirements to register to vote. US citizen, when you vote, you have to be a citizen. But when you register, you also have to be a citizen. So if someone is excited because their citizenship ceremony is coming up and they know they're going to be a citizen by the time the election comes, so they're just going to register now, stop them. Because when you register, you swear, and it's a felony if you are lying about it. You swear you're a citizen when you register. So to register, you have to be a citizen. You can pre-register at 16, but that stays in this kind of limbo waiting until you're 18 state. So to actually register 18 years of age, what's great is that pre-registration for 16 and 17 uses exactly the same form, and it's your birth date that puts it in that pre-registration or registration category. You can register to vote at 17 and realize that if you are going to be 18 by election day, you will be able to vote. You need to be a resident of Minnesota for at least 20 days. Now, what does that mean? You had to have laid your head here for the 20 days before election day. You don't have to live in the same place for 20 days. It's just, it has to be in Minnesota. So 15 days in Duluth and 5 days in St. Paul, doesn't matter, 20 days leading up to election day. The law says that you cannot be currently incarcerated on a felony. Other than that, you can vote. So what does that mean? Some examples. If you know someone who is in county jail, which is not on a felony, or they're waiting for their trial on a felony, they can still vote. I have actually done voter presentations in county jails before. The only restriction is currently incarcerated on a felony. It used to be if you were on probation or parole for a felony, you could not vote in Minnesota. But that law was changed. It was called Restore the Vote. And about 50,000 people got their right to vote back. So if they're not currently incarcerated on a felony, they can vote. And just being under guardianship does not mean that you can't vote. Kay, you have your hand raised, please.
I do. I've had this question running around in my head and thought this was a good time to ask it. I know that you can register to vote if you're going to be 18 by election day, but can you vote if you register and you 18 by election day, can you vote in the primary on August 11th or no?
That depends on the party. So the best thing to do is to reach out to the party.
Thanks.
And the same thing goes with admission to, um, I'm blanking, caucusing. So each party makes its own rules. So have them reach out to their party on anything other than voting in the general election regarding age. I'm going to say that what you're going to hear is that because these primaries are run as elections by the state, overseen by the state, you've got to be 18 to vote in the primary. But talk to the county. Great question.
Thank you.
So I was saying, just being under guardianship doesn't mean you can't vote. That guardianship order has to include that person has lost their right to vote. Registration. Someone might have been registered before. When do you need to re-register? Anytime you change your address at all. And the best example is if you move from one apartment to another in the same building, it's a different address and you have to re-register. If you change your address at all, if you change your name, if you go more than 4 years without voting, your registration becomes inactive, you have to register again. And the easy way is if somebody says, well, I vote every 4 years for president, so the last time I voted was for president, am I going to still be registered? Yes, every 4 years keeps it active. And they can always check their registration online or by calling their county. if someone has been released from federal prison or from prison on a felony, that's more accurate, they need to re-register. So if they were registered before they were incarcerated and then they got released, they're eligible to vote again, but they have to re-register. If the court took away your right to vote, we talked about guardianship as one primary example, but then the court restores it, have to re-register. And to join the permanent absentee voter list, and we'll talk about that more in detail later, you want to register to vote first and then join that absentee list. When should you encourage people to register? Minnesota is awesome. And we have election day registration, and we have for over 50 years, which means when you vote, whether you're voting early or voting on election day itself, you can, if you need to, register that day at that time when you go to vote. It takes more. You have to prove you are who you say you are and you live where you say you live with documentation. So a better way is encourage people to register to vote online or submit a paper registration application if they prefer, at least 3 weeks before, 21 days before. And the reason is that other forms of voter registration close after 21 days before so that the county can catch up and have updated lists at the polling place of who's registered. So when someone goes into a polling place to check in with the roster judge, the county wants all of those lists to be perfectly updated. So they shut it down at 21 days, and then anybody else who wants to register after that has to register when they vote. So get people to do it ahead of time. Even if they're saying, I don't think I'm going to vote, make sure they're registered because it gives them that choice to just walk into a polling place or request an absentee ballot and not have to register, not have to show documentation to anybody. So we talked about you can register when you vote as well. How can these people register to vote? In my opinion, the easiest way is online. mnvotes.gov is our website. There's a nice big register to vote link. Get it done. It's quick. It's 3 minutes, if that, for most people, if they have their address, their birth date, and their ID number. There are paper forms, and you can register to vote in 11 languages. So voter registration, the forms we have are in lots of languages, both paper and online. So lots of options there as well. A change, if you had seen a voter registration form in the last few years, it used to have where that red box is on the screen, you used to be able to sign up for the permanent absentee ballot list when you registered to vote. Legislature took that away, not permanent absentee as a status, but having it on the voter registration form. So when you fill out the registration application, it's just to register to vote. And all you're doing is saying who you are and where you live. If you get people to register online, and we talked about 10 languages to register, they need an email address. You don't need an email address for a paper form. You do if you register to vote online. You need a Minnesota ID number, driver's license number, permit number, state ID number, or tribal ID number. And if you don't own any of those, you can use the last 4 digits of a social security number. If you don't have a social security number or a Minnesota ID, one of those listed, you must use a paper form. People want to know very often what they're going to be asked, especially young people. They hesitate on things if they don't know ahead of time, what are they going to ask me? So what are you asked for on that form? Email, this is online. You don't have to give a phone number, but I encourage people to add their phone number. It's not shared. It's only used by your county to contact you if there's an issue with your voter registration, or if you, say, turned in an absentee ballot and you didn't sign something. If they can call you and tell you, no, you made a mistake, you need to redo this or vote on election day, rather than someone assuming that it went through, and we'll talk about that in a second too. They'll ask name, birth date, that number we talked about, that's all who you are, your full address, that's where you live, and then you need to sign an oath that everything is true. And that's really all it is. The online registration is 5 pages. It sounds like a lot, but let's walk through this in 10 seconds. Page 1 is 2 yes or no eligibility questions. That's page 1. Page 2 is who you are. It's asking your name, your date of birth, and that ID number. And if you had changed your name, they're going to ask you what it used to be. Page 3 is where you live. It's your address. It includes an apartment number if there is one. Page 4 is this right? All they do is show the person what they have typed in. Please make sure this is right. And page 5 is signing that everything you said was true. That's it. That's the whole form. It's the same information, by the way, on a paper form. So it's no different in what you're asked. There are some special circumstances, like college students. Where do college students register? Where their parents or family live, where they live at school. And the answer is it's up to them. We have about 20 of these sheets that you see in front of you on different topics, including one for college students. But basically, it says in Minnesota, the college student decides where their residence is. It's not based on their license. It's not based on where most of their stuff is stored. I have 2 kids. One went to school in Wisconsin, one went to the U. The one at the U after the first year said, nah, I live in Minneapolis. She re-registered to vote in Minneapolis and has voted from there ever since. My son went to school in Wisconsin. He did not consider himself a Wisconsin resident at all, and he voted absentee. It's up to that student. Military and overseas voters, active duty military and overseas voters have some abilities to vote more easily that others don't. We have a fact sheet on this. UOCAVA is the federal system for active duty military or Americans living overseas. And you can get all that information from us or from the county. Voters who do not have a permanent residence, and this is someone who is sleeping on somebody's couch or somebody who is sleeping in a park. If you don't have a permanent residence, there are ways to register to vote and to vote. The best thing to do is to get someone to do that voter registration at least 3 weeks ahead. And the reason is that even if you are staying on somebody's couch, you can use that address, no problem. If you are sleeping in your car, which may move, or you sleep in a park or in an encampment that doesn't have a formal address, there is a place to put that on the voter registration form. And if they can't mail that person a card to basically confirm their address, it'll come back and their voter registration will be challenged. They show up on election day. The roster judge will say, you have a challenge. Let me get the head election judge over. They'll talk about the circumstance, and the voter can swear an oath that everything they put in that form is true and they get to vote. So there are ways to vote no matter what your situation is if you meet eligibility. So what's the calendar look like? We want people to know, and here is the November 3rd general election calendar. We want people to know when election day is. Yes. We want them to know that polls are open from 7 in the morning to 8 p.m. But what else? In Minnesota, there is no excuses absentee voting for 46 days. So September 18th is the first day that you can actually vote. On November 3rd, you vote at your own polling place in your neighborhood. But before that, and we'll talk about ways to vote in a second, we want people to know that if it's not convenient or you don't want to be pigeonholed to one date, vote early. Have the ballot mailed to you. Walk into an early voting site. Lots of choices. There are 3, now 4 key dates. One of them is that election day, and let's talk primary for a second. The primary election day is August 11th. That's our statewide primary. We'll talk about that in a second. The 3-week mark we talked about, that 21 days, is July 21st. And then when does the early voting begin? Sorry, when does voting early by mail or in person begin? That 46 days before, that began June 26th. And as you can see, the November election has the same 3 dates. Election day, 21 days before election day, and 46 days before election day. Early voting, I stopped myself using that term. It used to be that people talked about early voting for 46 days. There's now an official definition for early voting, which is, and this is not to confuse people, it's just what the legislature did, starting 18 days before the election, you can go in early, in person, to an early voting center and not only be able to vote, but you will be handed your ballot, you fill it out, and you put it in a tabulator just like on election day. So you don't have the 5 parts, and we'll take a peek at all those parts of an absentee ballot. You don't have to fill out an absentee ballot application. There's a short form, it's a declaration you sign. So it's almost exactly like voting at your polling place on election day. It just takes place in a different location, and it begins 18 days before. That's early voting. That's that term now. So August 11th is the statewide primary. What does that mean? Isn't there also a presidential nomination primary? Yes, totally different. The statewide primary that's held in August every year helps the parties, the major parties in Minnesota, decide who their candidates are going to be on the November ballot. That's what the August primary does. You help the party that you are connected with, affiliated with, most in agreement with, to choose their candidate if they have more than one for a particular office. We have a fact sheet on this. It's very helpful. By the way, all these fact sheets are available to download online and print, to download and keep, to request to be mailed to you if you wanted the table and have them available to hand out to people. So the primary ballot, the statewide primary ballot, are those races in November when more than one person wants to be the nominee for a particular party. Or if it's a nonpartisan race where they don't say what party they are, if there are more than twice the number of spaces, if it's a city council race and it's nonpartisan and there are 3 spots, if there are 7 or more people who want to run for those spots, all 7 or however many there are in the primary, and it's whittled down to 6. The way that, and we'll take a peek at the ballot in a second, the way that the ballot is organized for a statewide primary is by party in columns. So you'll see an image that I did of my actual sample ballot, and you'll see the Republican Party on the left and the DFL on the right, and you can only vote in one column because you are helping your party to make their choices. So you can't say, well, I'm a member of, or I'm most closely aligned with both parties. Can't do it. So explain to people that for the primary, they have to pick a column, and you'll see it says it on the ballot. People also need to understand that their November vote isn't connected to their primary vote. You can vote for whoever you want in November. Doesn't matter who you voted for in the primary, who you wanted to be on the ballot, even what party you are generally affiliated with for the primary. In November, you vote for whoever you want. They're not connected. You're not committed. So this is what a sample ballot, and this is my sample ballot from the 7th Ward in St. Paul. You can see the Republican Party on the left, the DFL on the right. There wasn't enough to kick over to a second page, and there were no nonpartisan primaries, which would normally be on the back. So the back of mine was blank with this page intentionally left blank printed on it. And you can see in between the two columns, do not vote for candidates of more than one party. So it's also explained when you get your ballot, but if you're helping somebody understand voting in the primary, and there are lots of great reasons to vote in the primary, you want to make sure they understand that for the statewide primary, you got to pick a column and stick with it. This is just a zoom in. And the reason I'm showing you this is because if you look at Attorney General on the left in the Republican column, or you look at State Auditor or Secretary of State on the right in the DFL, there's only one person. Why would they have a primary if they're the only one running? It's because if you look on the other side for any one of those races, that other party does have a primary fight. And once one party's position is up on a primary, the other one is up too, even if there's only one person running. And that's a matter of fairness. You don't want to show one party's candidates and not the others on a ballot. So even if there's only one person running for the DFL for auditor and 3 for auditor for the GOP, we show them both. The November ballot is not set up in columns that way. It's by position. And for our November ballot in 2026, these 8 positions are on everybody's ballot, no matter where they are in Minnesota. U.S. Senator, their own U.S. Representative, Governor and Lieutenant Governor, all of the constitutional officers, Governor, Auditor, Attorney General, and Secretary of State are on everybody's. Their own state representative, their state senators, and judicial seats. Everyone will have some of those. And they may also, depending on where they live and who's up, which positions, which offices they're up, they may have county or city, school board, township, or even local ballot questions. That's the November ballot. People can find out now at one place. We used to have a few different tools, and you wanted to look at your ballot. It was one tool. You wanted to find out what your polling place was. It was a different page. They're now all together, which is awesome. So on one page, one tool now on our website, mnvotes.gov, you can put in your address, and it's going to tell you all of these things. When your next election is, if you're within a couple of months of it, where your polling place is, where you vote on election day itself. You get to see your ballot, including links to the web pages if the candidates have given them to find out more about them. And you can see your actual sample ballot, just like I was showing you mine. And you can print it out, fill it in, and bring it to the polling place as your cheat sheet or have it next to your real ballot at home when you're eating cereal and filling out your ballot. Minnesota actually gives you in statute the right to bring in your sample ballot so you don't have to remember who you wanted to vote for. Anything we can tell voters and prospective voters that takes away some of the anxiety. How am I going to remember who I want to vote for? Use a sample ballot, do your research, fill it out, and bring it with you. No problem. That tool also tells you your precincts, your districts, school districts, all of those things that eventually you may have candidates for, and where you caucus if it's a caucus year. The tool is also great now because it automatically fills in any address from the whole statewide database that matches what you put in. So if you live at 1313 Mockingbird Lane, you start by putting in 1313, and all of them are going to come up. And then once you add a space and an M, it's going to filter out everything except for those addresses that begin 1313 space M and on and on. This takes away any, oh, is it ST or the full word street, or it fills it in automatically. And if it comes down to the exact same address, except one is east and one is west, they'll show them both, and you just need to know your own address. You want people to know that they have choices when they do, so that voting is personal and personalized for them. There are 3 ways to vote, and as we talked about, 2 parts to one of the ways. So quickly here, you can vote by mail, you can vote early in person, or you can vote in person on election day at your neighborhood polling place. On election day, there is one place you can vote. That's it. Each person has their own precinct and a precinct polling place, and that's the only place they can vote on election day. We talked about 21 days ahead, but if you haven't, you can register to vote when you go to vote. You just need to have documentation, and that link underneath 1C is what you can bring to prove who you are and where you live. If you want to vote early by mail, it's great. You can sign up before the 46 days, and they will mail you out your ballot day 46 before, and you'll get it when the post office brings it to you. We advise people, as you're waiting for your ballot, check out your sample ballot, decide who you want to vote for, and when it comes, get your witness, fill it out, mail it back in. Sooner, the better. And if you wanted to receive your ballot by mail every time for every election mailed to your home, you can join that permanent absentee voter list. And you can vote early in person starting 46 days before. Every county must have at least one place, and lots of counties have many more than one place to vote. And some counties have what are called pop-up early voting sites. University of Minnesota will have an early voting site on each one of the 2 campuses. And if it's not there all 46 days, it'll be by arrangement, and they'll advertise when that pop-up early voting opportunity will be. Yep. Permanent absentee, if someone wants to get that absentee ballot mailed to them at their home every election. They can fill out the regular absentee ballot form, and there is the ability to check off, I want to be a permanent absentee voter, or they can apply online. There is the permanent absentee ballot application, or there's a paper form. They can download it, print it, and mail it in. Lots of ways to join it if someone wants to do that. Make sure they know permanent absentee only goes to your house where you are registered to vote. That's it. Regular absentee ballot, you can have it mailed anywhere. You're on vacation, you're going to be gone for work, you're at school, doesn't matter. The regular absentee ballot application, you say where you want it to go. We talked about early voting now, and you get to put it right into a tabulator yourself, doesn't go into envelopes. That 18 days is the end of what's called the clawback period. If somebody says, well, what if I change my mind? Up until that 18th day, you can contact your county and say, I turned in my absentee ballot 2 weeks ago, but the guy I voted for, the woman I voted for, said something I totally disagree with. I want to spoil, to cancel the ballot I turned in and do it again. They can get another absentee ballot mailed to them. They can go vote early in person, or they can vote on election day, but they can cancel their absentee ballot up to 18 days before. Used to be 7, now it's 18. Once you hit day 18, too late, because they begin to open up those envelopes, and we don't know whose is whose at that point, totally anonymous. But on day 19 up to day 46, you can vote by absentee ballot and then tell them, oh, change my mind. Rip that up, take it out of the system. I want to do it again. And to get this 18 days early voting ballot, it's just a physical signature on a little piece of paper. That's it. That was the how of voting. That's really what people need to know about the process. The other question is why. So we're going to spend a few minutes and talk about why vote. We have in Minnesota consistently, if not the highest voter turnout in the nation, then we're second or maybe third, but we haven't been third in a while. In 2024, we had the highest youth voter turnout in the nation, which is, by the way, 18 to 29 is that definition. But that was 62%. So basically 4 out of 10 young people. And I think we were close to 80% in overall voter turnout. So 2 out of 10 still don't vote. In non-presidential years, it's lower. We still do very well nationally. We're still up there, but even more people don't vote when it's a governor's race, and even more, and that's the US Senator, governor, that's kind of the top of the ballot this year. But even more people don't vote for local elections, and that's where they have the most say, the most power. So people don't vote. They have reasons. Let's talk about the why you should vote. And we'll talk about why some people report that they don't vote and having answers to that. So, addressing the why. Can you inspire them? Can you convince them? Should we even try and convince? We definitely don't want to try and guilt people into it. That doesn't work. Basically, because people do it in secret anyway. So they may say, oh, okay, I'm going to vote. Give them the reasons. There are traditional reasons people vote, but self-interest is a reason people can and should vote. We'll talk about that. And voting is a a power that people have when they utilize it, and they give it up when they don't. So let's talk about that for a couple of minutes. The traditional reasons when I was a kid, but much more when my parents were young, right? And any civics they got in the classroom or speeches by politicians, it was these traditional patriotic reasons to vote. You can read them here. People have fought, bled, and died for your right to vote. That's true. There are people in the world and people in the United States who can't vote. That's true too. Maybe somebody says it's your duty as an American. Maybe you believe that. All of these are fine. They're true. Great. But there's more than that that never used to be talked about. This actually resonates with more people. You get things when you vote. It's not a transaction. I voted, so give me this thing. But people who vote, their groups, neighborhoods, demographic groups, whatever it is, when your group votes, they tend to get listened to more by politicians. A great example, nobody listens to young people, so I don't vote. The issue, though, is that politicians listen to those who vote. So if young people voted in higher numbers, more politicians would be on campuses, in schools, wanting to say, please vote for me. Let me listen to what's important to you. But they know that if they have to choose with their time and their campaigning between, say, senior citizens who vote in sky high rates or college students who, for the most part, vote in much lower rates, where are they going to spend their time? So it's not, uh, like this says here on the page, it's not a blood drive. You're not going to meet the person that you're helping out most of the time, and you're just doing this good deed. You actually benefit. Your goals, your beliefs benefit when you help someone get elected who backs what you believe and who has similar goals to you. Voting is power. I mentioned that. I mentioned politicians listen to groups who vote in higher numbers. When you don't vote, somebody else has your say. I'm not going to go into the whole fraction thing, but I was a math teacher once upon a time. And when you don't vote, the people who do have more power and they get to make decisions for you. Why is there a picture of pizza on the screen? It's because a great analogy that I use with college students all the time is when someone comes to your dorm room and says, hey, we're ordering pizza. Do you want some? Yeah, I'd love pizza. Great. What kind do you want? Oh, I don't care. Order anything. Chances are they're going to come back with 6 pineapple pizzas for the floor, and you hate pineapple pizza. And you may say, why did you order pineapple pizza? And what are they going to say to you? You said you didn't care. That's what not voting is. And people need to hear that. Oh, they did this. They passed that tax. They took away my right to fill in the blank. Well, who did you vote for? Oh, I didn't vote. Don't give up your power. And that power is still in the hands of people after someone gets elected. And you can see the others. Call, write, visit your elected representatives. The more local they are, the louder your voice and the more weight your voice has. And even at the state representative and state senator level, they are very accessible. Unbelievably accessible. So tell people that they can keep voicing their opinion, advocate for what they believe, even after elections happen. And you can help other people retain and improve their power through voting by helping them, just as we're talking about tonight. Learn about voting, bring somebody with you. Oh, I'm going to be voting. Why don't you come with? You know, are you registered? Let me help you register, etc. What are the top reasons people say they don't vote? Think about that for 4 seconds. What do you think they are? Why do people say they don't vote if someone asks them, why aren't you voting? The first one, you may not guess, so we're going to get to that in a second. The second one is that they don't have enough information. How to vote, who to vote for. The paraphrase I use is, I don't want to look stupid. Young people talk about the fact that they'll vote when they understand enough about voting. But if we don't share with them how to vote, they're never going to know, and they're going to get into this habit of not voting. They don't want, and they will not show up to a place like a polling place they've never been, not know where to go once they get there. Everyone's going to know, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what they're going to ask me. Those are easy things. We'll see that in 10 seconds to solve the how and the who of voting. There was a hand up. I would love to take that question if you want to unmute.
No, I thought you were just asking like a question. You were asking
Oh,
us why people don't vote. That's why.
yeah. Okay. So, some specifics. One of the top reasons, and it used to be the top reason before, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm going to wait, was no one asked me. You are here because you are interested in being that person who says, hey, are you registered to vote? Can I help you? Do you know who you're going to vote for? I don't want to tell you, but do you know how to find out about the candidates and who's on your ballot? Let me help you out. That handles number one. One vote doesn't matter. A lot of people believe that their vote doesn't matter. And instead of thinking, well, one drop of water doesn't matter in the ocean, right? If I take a cup of water out, no one's going to know the difference. I pour it on the beach. The thing is that water makes up the ocean or the lake, and votes make up the outcome. And if everybody said, my vote doesn't matter, there wouldn't be anybody voting. So you combine that with that bottom ballot, which is presidential, US Senate, yeah, one vote is not likely to tip it one way or the other. But in Minnesota, every year, and I only have statistics from 2015 on, but every single year in Minnesota, an election either ties or is won by one vote. Every year. This is one of my favorite political cartoons. And if you can't see it, I'll quickly describe it. It's two groups of people separated by an aisle. The smaller group, which is about a third of the whole, has t-shirts that say I voted. And 2/3 all are saying together, we didn't vote because it won't make a difference. In a lot of places, the voter turnout is less than half. That means if the rest of the people voted, they would decide who wins. Why else do people say they don't vote? There's too much on the ballot. You saw that sample ballot. If you looked at the presidential ballot, there are a lot of races on the 2024 ballot. And if anybody needs a sample ballot from that time or any race, I can help you out with that. Yes, there are lots of races on a November ballot. But what people don't know, a lot of people, is you don't have to vote on all of them. If you only have an opinion on 2 or 3 or 4 races, right? School board and governor and US senator and my state rep, because they knocked on my door and I liked what they had to say, just vote those 4. You don't have to vote any minimum number of races, and a lot of people don't know that. And they're not going to know how many you vote for because it's a secret ballot. So there is a solution to that. If somebody says they're not into politics, the famous saying is, you may not be into politics, but politics is into you. Don't talk to people about parties who have this attitude. Talk to them about issues. What's important to them? And likely the things that are important to them are decided through laws or policies made by people who are elected. So get them thinking about what's important to them, who is important to them, and voting helps benefit those people. I'm not voting as a protest against the system. Well, that's like a little kid saying, I'm not eating to show you how mad I am at you. It doesn't hurt the system at all. It takes away your power for any kind of change. And honestly, you can tell them nobody really cares because they're not getting that message. Your absence doesn't have a voice. Your voting has a voice, and you're advocating for what you believe has a voice. Secretary Simon talks about a t-shirt. Failure to vote is not an act of protest, it's an act of surrender. Love that quote. Somebody says, I'm not voting because I don't like any of the candidates. Tell them the candidates in November are chosen in August. Vote in the primary. And even before that, listen to who's running and support the people who are saying things that you believe in too. So start early. And you don't have to give money to candidates. You can volunteer. You don't have to be a citizen to volunteer to help a candidate. You don't have to be a certain age to volunteer to help a candidate. And there are lots of ways to help them. And the last one we already talked about, which is information. I don't have enough information. I don't understand the process. I don't want to look stupid. You can help that. And showing people who have never voted how voting works raises their likelihood to vote. And this shows in surveys of young people under 18, those who learn the mechanics of voting, what's a ballot look like, et cetera, turn out in higher numbers when they're 18 the first time they have that chance. You can help lower anxiety and increase the likelihood that people will vote if you help, I put here intentionally, share the experience rather than teach them about voting. Some people have a mental block about being taught. So share what the experience of voting is and what is that? What's a ballot look like? How do you vote on it? How do I apply to, how do I register to vote? What does that mean? What does a polling place look like? All of these things can be shared. And if you don't have the resource, we do, and we'll share it with you so you can share it with them. Telling people that when you walk into this room, there'll actually be somebody sitting at a table who's there to say hello, make sure you're in the right place, and point you to where to go next. And then the next person will ask you your name. So you can go through and tell them this is all it is. The absentee voting process, there are 5 parts to this thing. What? Why is it so complicated? It's really not that complicated, and you can walk them through. It's almost like putting together a box that you're mailing something that's delicate. So you're going to wrap it in bubble wrap, and then you're going to maybe fill it with crumpled newspaper to fill up the space. And then you got to close it and put tape on it and then a mailing label. There are steps. And that purple sheet on the right goes through. It's like an IKEA set of directions. Number 1, do this. Number 2, do this. Number 3, do this. You can help demystify those processes. A few did you knows, and then we'll get into taking any questions you might have. Did you know that we have materials in a dozen languages? And some of our web pages have general voting information in all of those languages. And by the way, you can get materials in all those languages shipped for free to you if you're going to table or door knock or do any kind of voter outreach work in your community. Voting with a criminal record, we actually talked about that change in the law that passed in 2023, Restore the Vote, but there is a fact sheet for that. Voters' rights are actually a matter of law. It's not just, well, they can't do that to you. The Minnesota Voters' Bill of Rights is in statute, and we have a fact sheet on that as well. But things like, and this helps people with their anxiety as well, what if I'm in the voting booth and I mess up? You have a right under the law to go back to the election judge and say, I want to swap this for a new ballot. And you can do it as many times as you want to. You have the ability, and I think I have this here, to vote from your car. If you're injured, have a difficult time walking or standing in line, if it's not physical, if you have someone in your car that has issues and you don't want to leave them alone or have them have to go through it, or if you have a child or children in the car, somebody you're caring for, you can have 2 election judges come out to your car, help you with the voting process, give you that ballot, step back, give you the time to vote. You put it in a little privacy envelope. The 2 of them, one DFL judge, one GOP judge, together watching each other, bring that ballot back and put it in the tabulator for you. Lots of great rights in Minnesota. And if you are eligible to vote, if you are eligible to register or pre-register, you can be an election judge. 30,000 plus people. Every time there is a statewide election, there are over 30,000 election judges who make it possible. Anybody who ever says, oh, elections are rigged, encourage them to be an election judge once. It's 2 hours of paid training and then a long day where they get to see where there are fail safes and checks and balances. So that helps them too. But if you want to help people vote, one way is to be an election judge. That's what I've got. I'm going to stop sharing. Would love to take your questions. If you have any items to discuss, whatever works for you.
I think for me, maybe the material that you were talking about, that you can get from the Secretary of State, if you can show us on how to ship that to our office or our
You
home.
bet. That's great. Great idea. Okay, so let me, here we go. So you should be seeing a web page. Everybody seeing that? This is our elections and voting webpage, which is the landing page for mnvotes.gov. When you're on this page, just scroll down to get involved, right above the flags on the right. That is everything voter outreach, all on one set of pages. So you get involved, and on the right is general get involved information, and on the left is the menu. And right here under download or order free materials is voter outreach materials. This is electronic, social media posts and ideas and timelines and graphics, but also printed and downloadable materials. So I clicked on voter outreach materials, and here is this bulleted list, and right in the middle is fact sheets. These are all of the fact sheets. If you want to take a look at them in English and in every other language they're offered in, here's how to vote. You can pick one and it'll pop up. You can download it, you can read it or go back. And at the bottom of the list, right here, is the online storefront. This is where you get the thing shipped to you, and let's take a look. So what's there? I will vote stickers, rolls of I will vote stickers, voter registration applications, absentee ballot applications, and if you click on fact sheets, oh, it wants me to log in, but you would see the list of all of those fact sheets that you see on mnvotes.gov. Does that answer that? Do you have anything else, Fahad? On that, I mean?
No, that was, thank you. I
Great.
appreciate that.
Yep. And if you don't remember, just go to um, search out Minnesota Secretary of State, and you can scroll down to the bottom of the page and call us and say, I know you guys ship stuff and I can't find it. I don't know where it is. And we'll just walk you through like I just did to get there. Or we'll send you, if you want us to email you the link right to it, happy to do that too.
This entire video will also be posted on our website and on our YouTube as well. So if you're like, okay, I just really need Michael to walk me through it again, you can go back and find this video as well.
Thank you.
Other questions, points of discussion, anything. No bad questions, nothing out of bounds. Yes, Halima.
Hi, thank you so much. This was very informative. As somebody who's relatively new to the Minnesota area, this question is for folks that are working in Aya the Leads. What ways can I support the community, or how can I get involved in supporting the community and learning about voting, election, or maybe even helping them setting up, making sure that they're registered? Do you guys have any opportunities to support the community?
Yeah, that's actually a perfect segue. Christina, if you are able to go back to our slides, we do have multiple events coming up that Christina and Shayna can kind of talk about, where we have some upcoming volunteer opportunities to exercise some of the skills that you learned today, having those conversations and registering voters. We have some upcoming opportunities. Christina, it looks like you might have to share the presentation again and not the screen. Let's. Halima, are you a community? So you said you're relatively new to the Minnesota area?
Yes,
Or the Minneapolis?
I've been here and then I came back, and so we registered again, and so I'm in the St. Paul area, but there's still some learnings to do, and I used to do like helping with election from where I am from, Boise, Idaho, and so I have some experience there, and so I would love to support any community member in making sure that they can voice their.
I'm happy to share that as a presentation if that would help.
Yeah, otherwise we can also move forward with this too. If I don't know, Christina, you could just zoom in, or if this is visible to everyone.
I'm trying to share the slideshow. Is it showing now?
No, it's okay. I think we can just move on. Can all of you guys see this? You can see the slide well? Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, Christina, Shayna, if you guys want to introduce some of the events that we have coming up in July.
Yes, I can introduce the first one here. So next week we do have our Voter 101 information event. So essentially it'll be sort of kind of a recap of what we learned here, but also like we'll be able to help people figure out how they can have their own voting plan. So you can figure out what day works best for you to go to register to vote, or to like come and register, and then maybe when you're going to vote, or make sure like you understand what day you would need to um take off from work to make sure you're voting and such like that. And the following week, we'll have our candidate research workshop. So that workshop is going to be with Dr. Amber. They are someone who is native to Minneapolis, and they share a lot of current events that happen here, and like really encourage people in Minneapolis to understand the people they are voting for. So in that event, we'll be able to take a look at a few names on the candidates list and see where certain values and certain policy positions align, and then being able to spot misinformation before voting for specific people we would like in office. So if you are interested, please feel free to visit the website listed or ayataleads.org and click on the events tab, and you'll be able to see all the current events that's happening in the next few weeks. I don't know
Yeah,
if
and just
Ava, go ahead.
Oh
go
yeah,
ahead.
I'll just add a little bit. So yeah, you can come meet our lovely Michael in person, and the rest of the IATA staff at the Voter 101 event. That'll be kind of like a catch-all when it comes to the primary. So in addition to what Christina said, learning how to register to vote. For those who maybe have never registered before, that's where you would come in as a volunteer if you wanted to use that your free time to spend the evening with us, helping people register to vote. Now that you've learned the skills registering people to vote, how to talk to them about that, so you could help us register people to vote that day. We'll also learn about, let's say you want to vote yourself, but you don't really know how to research a candidate or look for collateral information. Michael's going to walk us through that as well as what Christina said, building your own personalized voting plan. And if you want to get involved with us, we have that QR code on the screen as well that specifically details the different events we have coming up, and the different kind of volunteer tracks you might want to involve yourself with. And then I also just wanted to give a quick little announcement about our upcoming voter series that we will have after the primary. So these events are for specifically the primaries, to leverage your voice in selecting your favorite candidate or your candidate of choice. And then we'll move beyond that into the November election cycle, where Michael will join us again for a 3-part series that will essentially be like that Voter 101 information event, but each section will be dissected into 3 separate events. So plenty of opportunities for you. And I know Fahad has his hand raised. He's with CARE, one of our IATA's partners as well. I know CARE has a lot of opportunities as well. So Fahad, you can share if you have anything as well.
Yeah, thank you. I was gonna say we have a lot of volunteering, door knocking. Also, we're at the mosque every Friday prayer. So if you go have I don't know if Halima has a specific mosque she goes to on Fridays, or it's more catered toward the Muslim community. So we usually are looking for volunteers to hand out literature and different things and in advertising, recruiting people right now. We're recruiting people volunteers right now, and then there should be soon like paid positions to do this type of work with us. So hopefully, if you want to get involved, uh, would I find that info in the care? No, I don't think you would. I think there is a section, but I gotta double check. But I can send you my information and all. Right now, I'm basically making the application for the volunteers. So then you would talk to our deputy director, who's Suleiman. He's really great. And from then on, we're just looking for very dedicated people at different mosques, and also to go to events. We just came back from Rochester about like a few days ago, so we'll be doing a lot of things in greater Minnesota and here, and we could talk about providing transportation as well. So, and I can put my information in the chat, or maybe Eva or anyone else can give her my email or the care email, and it'll come
Yeah,
directly to me.
we should have everybody's emails who's registered at the moment, and we can send out your information, Fahad, to everyone who joined today if there's any anyone who's interested in doing this voter registration for any particular organization, or if you're just something doesn't quite fit your needs, we can try to connect you with someone who does. Let's say you're really committed to doing work in Brooklyn Park, we can connect you with an organization in Brooklyn Park. We're well-connected org, so we're happy and excited that you're interested in exercising your new voter registration skills.
I want to say one more thing. I know this was all expressed in the beginning too, but again, all these events will be posted on our social media sites, emails, newsletters. So even if it's a lot coming at you at once, don't worry, it will be broken down as we go. So just stay tuned, and also stay tuned into KRMN and what they're doing as well. There's so many ways to get involved and engage with the community. So
yeah, there's also we're also here again, like we're here to support you all as community members, and if there is something you want to maybe host within your neighborhood or with your friends, that's definitely something that we are able to support as well. So it doesn't need to be and it coming to an organization and we put you where we need you. We also work to, that's one of IATA's biggest missions, is empowering leadership amongst women. And we would love to support if you have an event that you are hosting or you have an idea for something as well. We're happy to support that. And we can move back into if anyone has any questions. Otherwise, I know we're running towards the end of our session here today. So we'll just be here if you have any questions about voting, voter registration, upcoming events, anything regarding IATA Leads. We'll be here, but thank you so much for coming and joining us today, spending your evening with us. We know, thankfully, it might not be as nice outside, and you can spend some time with us virtually. But we hope to see you at our Voter 101 event or any upcoming events that we have in the end of the summer and upcoming fall. But hopefully we'll see you there, and don't hesitate again to reach out to any of us. We'll send you an email with some of that information that Fahad gave us about CARE, and then some of the opportunities that we have as well. Thank you.
Thank you guys for holding this event. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.